My name is Rafael, you're watching Rock and Roll Garage, and today I'm going to show you 21 songs released by the Beatles that were actually covers. That's right, but first please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave your comment. Well, George, Paul, John, and Ringo are known as the most influential band of all time. Especially John Lennon and Paul McCartney are known as the most successful and influential, probably songwriting duo of all time. But the Beatles recorded a lot of covers, a lot of songs that were not originally written by them. And today I'm going to show you these 21 songs. So let's start. The first one is Anna, Go to Him. We're going to go on the chronological order here. It's the first song that we mentioned is Anna, Go to Him. It's from their debut album, Please Please Me, released in 1963. And this song was written by the American country soul singer and songwriter Jason Ankeny. It was originally released by him in 1962, 1 year before the Beatles covered, as the B-side for the song I Hang My Head and Cry. It was originally released as a single in 1962. The second one is Chains. This song is also from the Beatles' debut album, which obviously is the one that had more covers. Usually, a debut album is formed by lots of covers and a few original songs, usually. And this song is another song from the record that was not written by any of them. And it was released originally by the American R&B group The Cookies in 1962. It had been written by the famous songwriters Gary Goffin and Carole King. That's fantastic. Now the third one is Boys. Boys had Ringo Starr on vocals, right? It was a really famous song for the Beatles at that time, but you know, it had already been a hit. Originally, the song was originally written by Luther Dixon and Wes Farrell, and it was originally released by the American girl group The Shirelles. It was part of their 1960 album Tonight's the Night. So it also was not written by the Beatles. The next one is Baby, It's You. And it is another song recorded by the girl group The Shirelles, and it was also part of the Beatles' debut album Please Please Me in 1963, and it was originally released by The Shirelles in 1961 on the album of the same name of the song. And the track was written by Mark McDavid, Luther Dixon, and Burt Bacharach, one of the most fantastic composers of all time, who sadly left us a few years ago. The next one, A Taste of Honey, another really great Beatles version. It was also part of their debut album, and the track was written by Bobby Scott and Rick Marlowe. It was originally an instrumental track, and for the 1960 Broadway version of the 1958 British play of the same name, A Taste of Honey. But the Beatles covered the version made by Lenny Welch, who was the first one that recorded that track with lyrics. So it's the first vocal version of that song, was released in 1962 by Lenny Welch, and the Beatles covered that same song in the next year. And the next one, which I think, you know, it's hard, and it is Twist and Shout. And I think it's really hard to remember that song without remembering the Beatles version, because I mean, I think the Beatles Twist and Shout version is the definitive one. And tell me if you agree with me. And it was not a Beatles song, but the track was written by Phil Medley and Burt Russell, being first recorded by the Isley Brothers in 1962. So it's another huge Beatles hit, probably the most famous song from this list that it's actually a cover. And what a cover, what a version, right? The next one is Till There Was You. Now this is from their second album with the Beatles, which was released in 1963. And there were many covers as well on that album. The first one was Till There Was You, which was written by Meredith Willson. And the song was originally recorded by Anita Bryant, being released as a single in 1959. And it's another song that is just amazing. And, you know, the Beatles had so many incredible songs that we can't even, it's hard to really pinpoint which one is a cover and not, because they made their songs, original. If it was a cover, it became something unique by them. Let's continue. The next one, which was also a hit with the Beatles, Please Mr. Postman, and it already had been a hit before, and it was written by Georgia Dobbins, William Garrett, Freddie Gorman, Brian Holland, and Robert Bateman, but it was originally recorded by the girls group The Marvelettes in 1961, a few years before they covered this track. The next one, it's, the Beatles version is great, but Roll Over Beethoven is a Chuck Berry song, and they covered a few Chuck Berry songs, and this is one. But the Chuck Berry song is fantastic, and the track was originally released by Chuck in 1956. It was released as a single, and Chuck was a musician who influenced them, a lot. Chuck was a fundamental part of rock and roll, and obviously a fundamental influence to the Beatles. The next one is You Really Got a Hold on Me, which is also on the album with the Beatles. It was originally written by Smokey Robinson and released by the Fabulous Miracles, the band he was part of, in 1962. That's when the track was originally released. And curiously, they were big fans of Smokey Robinson, but especially George Harrison. George even wrote a song about Smokey Robinson on his solo career, and he even said many times how much he loved Smokey and was an influence to him as well. The next one is also with the Beatles, is Devil in Her Heart. This track was written by Richard B. Drapkin, and the song was originally recorded by the American girl group the Donays, being released as a single in 1962. It's really interesting how many girls groups songs that the Beatles covered. That's really cool. The next one is Money, That's What I Want, also with the Beatles. Is the final cover of the album, and it was originally written by Janie Bradford and Barry Gordy. The track was first released in 1959 by the singer Barrett Strong. And now we move to the next album with covers, which is their fourth album, Beatles for Sale. And this is Rock and Roll Music, another song by Chuck Berry, which was released by Chuck in 1957 as a single. The next one, also from Beatles for Sale, is Mr. Moonlight. This song was first recorded by the American group Dr. Feelgood and the Interns in 1962, being released as a single, and it was written by Roy Lee Johnson. The next one that we mentioned is Kansas City, Hey, 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 Hey. It was written by Jerry Lieber, Mike Stoller, Richard Penman, and it's actually a medley. Kansas City, Hey, Hey, what was part of their fourth album. And McCartney first discovered those songs in 1959 when he was listening to a Little Richard performance of that medley in 1955. So there were two songs originally, but Little Richard transformed them in a medley, and Paul decided to make the Beatles cover it, and that's what they did. The next one is Words of Love. It's a song that was written by one of their biggest influences, who was Buddy Holly, who tragically was killed on a airplane crash alongside the Big Bopper and Richie Valens, and he became known as The Day That the Music Died. Words of Love is a song by Buddy, and it was first released by Buddy in 1957, 2 years before his tragic death at the age of 22. You know, he was so young when he passed away. What a tragic thing. And let's move on. The next one, Honey Don't, also from Beatles for Sale. And it was recorded by another artist who influenced them a lot. And especially Ringo Starr liked him a lot, because Ringo was always a country music fan. And Honey Don't was written and first recorded by the American singer and guitarist Carl Perkins, who first released the track in 1956 as a single. Let's move on. Also from Beatles for Sale, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. It's the second Carl Perkins song covered on that album. And the curious thing is that actually Perkins didn't write that song all by himself, because the track with the same name was written and recorded by Rex Griffin in 1936. So it was the one that inspired Perkins to write a new version. There are a few changes on the lyrics and gave the track a new arrangement. So Carl Perkins did the definitive version of that song, but it was not 100% written by him. The next one is Act Naturally. The track was from their 1965 album Help, which had only 2 covers. And you know, as the Beatles were releasing more albums and becoming more successful, they had more time to write, to work in the studio. They stopped touring and etc. So you're gonna see that they stopped doing covers. There are many albums they didn't cover any songs. They're all original songs. Naturally is from Help, released in 1965. The track was written by Johnny Russell and Vonnie Morrison, and it was first recorded by Buck Owens and the Buckaroos in 1963. The second one from Help, which was a cover, is Dizzy Miss Lizzy. It was written and first recorded by the American singer Larry Williams in 1958. John Lennon was the vocalist of that track, and he used to play the track live when he was playing with the Plastic Ono band also. So he really loved that song. The final one that we selected is from Let It Be, and it is Maggie Mae, which is a cover of a traditional folk song from Liverpool. So nobody knows for sure who wrote that track, because before there were, you know, vinyls and recordings and etc. Music was passed on. You know, people would learn songs from a person, and they would play and they would teach that song to somebody else. So nobody knows for sure who originally wrote that song, but the Beatles made their version for that traditional folk song from Liverpool, where they were born and grew up. And these are 21 Beatles songs that are actually covers. So I hope you liked the video. If you want to read more, you can go to the description and visit the article we wrote about it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, tell me if you knew these songs were covers, if you like any of them, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and I see you later.